Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Frank Tianxie. Welcome to join my Opinions New by Frank Tianxie. Okay. In this video, let's talk about the digital currency or encrypted currency by the Chinese Communist government. Okay. The Chinese regime has been really working hard in pushing for the blockchain, big data, and artificial intelligence (AI) in their national drive. You know, and they are trying hard to also to push forward the digital currency or digital RMB, renminbi, this currency. Right? Why are they doing that? Why is the Chinese government doing that? Right? The most important application of blockchain is in encrypted currency, as you know. Okay, if uh, if China is to pursue this encrypted currency, what is the purpose? What is the motive? You know, are they trying to destroy the supremacy of U.S. dollars? Okay? We know that the Chinese regime is really faltering, is collapsing as we speak. Could the blockchain and the digital currency be the Pearl Harbor or the Waterloo of Chinese Communist government? Okay? So, but in my opinion, no matter what, there are at least four reasons or motives behind China's pursuit of this digital currency. Okay? First, let's talk about what is the blockchain, right? A blockchain is basically a distributive, non-irreversible, or irreversible uh, bookkeeping, storage, and verification process. You know, because this irreversible, and distributive accounting or bookkeeping practice has been used really in the Western world for decades, for centuries. And what we are known as the double entry accounting system, invented by the Italians, is actually one of the primitive, older version of this. So in this double entry accounting system, every transaction, is not, you cannot eliminate, even if you want to do your bookkeeping by hand, you write down something, you enter entry, and that is wrong, that is incorrect. You cannot, just erase it using eraser. Instead, by accounting rule, you're supposed to strike through, to show that this not valid, and then you need the initial and date it, and then you enter your correct entry, bookkeeping entry. You know, in the computer system, it is the same thing. If you enter the account entry wrong, no matter it's wrong on one account or both accounts, credit account or debit account, if you did a mistake, you made a mistake, you need to reverse that by entering the opposite, debit or credit, on the previous entry, and then you can enter the new entry. Okay, so basically the blockchain system, is really a development, on the double entry system of the Italians, ancient Italians, right? And so the digital currency, for example, the Bitcoin, is transaction, is transfer, is payment. All of its records are irreversible and non-erasable. And basically, the blocks. The blocks basically are the accounting books or accounting systems, and the chain in this case is the internet. They actually um, storage all this information, transaction information, on all those terminals, computers, servers, right? And that's something that everyone agrees with, and everyone accepts, and nobody can just simply change it or modify it at will, because even if you want to change it or modify it, it's useless, because ownership of the digital currency, or such as Bitcoin, or this trade is payment, there are hundreds of thousands, millions, or even tens of millions of records, you know, out there somewhere on those terminals, servers, computers connected on the internet. You cannot change that, right? If you can't change yours, others' records still, stay the same, stay intact. And in addition, everything is encrypted, highly encrypted. So basically, unless you can infiltrate, hack all the computers on the internet and then change the records, you know, then there's no way for you to change any transaction or recording of the ownership or the balance of the currency, digital currency. Therefore, it's considered, pretty safe, very safe, right? Of course, in theory, if you can control all the computers, I'm talking about all the mainframe computers, terminals, servers, and of the world, of the entire world, in theory, you can sabotage or you can, manipulate the system. Okay. So for a government like a Chinese Communist government, is an authoritative, regime, a dictatorship regime, if they use the internet or the Chinese intranet and the blockchain technology, they're capable of, manipulating and controlling this digital currency in its own boundary. In China, basically, there's not really an internet in China. Or in other words, what I mean is that in China, the whole country is really, on a huge intranet, not internet, it's an intranet, right? And this whole intranet is connected through four gateways, to the whole world, the entire world, the internet, as we know. Right? So basically, China's so-called internet is nothing more than the intranet of American university or American business. It's not much different in principle. It's a larger, it's huge. It's Chinese. It's a Chinese portion of the internet of the net, right? So we do know that the Chinese communist regime has the ability and to monitor or control all the internet companies in China. Right? They can control, they can monitor, they can they manipulate all the mainframes, terminals, and all computers. We know that they can even control all the cell phones, in China. You know. Under that circumstance, if the Chinese government, wants to use blockchain to run this encrypted digital currency, they can actually do that. They can actually use the security and the safety features of blockchain to, run and issue its currency and they change it, whichever way they want. Okay? So of course, if there is another system or another country that has even more powerful, more advanced computer systems, for example, the quantum computers, or even better internet, another level of newer internet, and this country can possibly, make the Chinese system obsolete because the system, the current system that China has, or anyone has, is based on the encryption system on the 3G or 4G internet network, right? On the current technology of our computer and computing power, right? If someone has another country has even higher computing power and more faster computer and the more advanced internet network, this country can, in fact, penetrate or destroy any other system, those China, like countries like China has. Right? I'm giving example. It's just like our fifth generation, stealth fighters, like our F-22. If you fly F-22 to fight some, Australian, indigenous Australian people who are using this boomerang to fight with you, of course you have this capability, you have this superiority here. Okay? Of course, only the United States potentially has this capability to do that. So also, if you look at the basic, the foundation, this digital currency supported by blockchain is really a democratic system, right? It's actually going against the highly authoritative regime of Chinese Communist Party. Right? That's why the Bitcoin, it could be they said is invented by a Japanese guy, and but that system or this whole thing called Bitcoin can only be used or adopted by a country, a free country like America. Right? American government nowadays, the way they look at this digital currency is that they don't really like it. They don't really agree with it or support it, but they cannot really abolish it because the Bitcoin nowadays is not against any law, right? Under our current legal system, it is not illegal. So if it's not illegal, it's legal. I think the last time I checked, the American government, views Bitcoin as just as a security, with value, and its price fluctuates with the market, and it can be stored, it can be collected, it can be used to pay, right? Then that's fine, right? It's just like we have other collectibles, other securities, other things to be used to storage value or used to pay your debt, pay your bill. Yeah? As long as you're not threatening the status of U.S. dollars, nobody cares, right? But if a merchant, a business says that, hey, I only accept bitcoins and I don't accept U.S. dollars, and that could be okay. People just people like me, like us, we don't have the bitcoin but we have dollars, we just don't go to that store, we go to another store. Right? But if there's a bank that holds your mortgage or your car loan, and the bank says, hey, we don't accept US dollars, we only accept bitcoins, that could be a problem. Uncle Sam may step in because on our dollars, our money, the great US dollars, the greenback, it says on the bill clearly, this note is legal tender of all debts, public and private. So you have to accept that. Right? In my opinion, the reason the Chinese Communist regime is pushing forward with digital currency, they have at least four reasons or four benefits from doing so. What are they? First, to control its people financially. Right? Second, uh, the government can eliminate, the evidence of uh, their printing too much money illegally. Right? And third, they can use this to punish the corrupted officials. And fourth, they can use that to trying to challenge the dominance of the United States U.S. dollars. That's my view. Okay, four reasons: control its people, eliminate inflation, confiscate the proceeds of corrupted officials, and fourth, challenge U.S. dollars. Okay. We all know that the inflation is huge in China, and the government has just printed too much money. How much? We don't know the true numbers. The best estimate I have found is that 180 trillion Chinese dollars. 180 trillion Chinese dollars. But these monies are not all in circulation, because if they are truly all in circulation, the price level in China is not going to be what it is today. Now we see that the Chinese pork sells for 50 Chinese yuan RMB per kilo, right? And if the old money are in circulation, the price of pork could be 250 or 350. Okay, and we have seen that all those there's so many Chinese corrupt communist officials, Chinese communist officials being arrested, right, for corruption charges, right? And every one of them, if you've seen that, they found tons of money, cash, in their basement, in the storage room, in the millions, tens of millions, even hundreds of millions, right? Let's assume that the corrupt officials, their hoarding of cash in their families, in their bedroom or your storage room. Let's say the average is 50 million, and 50 million, you know, and 50 million is not that much in Chinese dollars nowadays for Chinese people. For even for middle class people, they have a house in those major cities. Their house could be worth millions of Chinese dollars. Okay, let's say also that assuming that the 1/10 of 1% of the population, that's the Chinese Communist government leaders or cadres, the corrupted officials, and that is the 1.4 million families. Right? If each family has about 50 million Chinese dollars hoarded in the basement, and now then we're talking about 70 trillion Chinese dollars. 70 trillion. Okay. Of course, these people will not put money in the bank. Why can't they put the money in the bank? They can't. If they put the money in the bank, is the money, the wealth is so much higher than their legitimate income, they will expose their corruption practice, right? So only place they can put this money, basement, right? So if China is to adopt the digital currency, these people will suffer the first, the most. Okay? The Chinese communists, the government, the central government can easily, erase all those corrupted, profits from these people. And also the Chinese government can actually also eliminate the evidence of their, printing too much money. So if China is to use digital currencies, they already have this 支付宝. I think it's the Alipay by Alibaba, the company initiated by Alibaba. It's already nationalized, to a large extent. With that, with Alipay and other payment systems, digital payment system with digital currency, the regime can easily control the wealth of all the people in China, everyone. They can declare the paper currency, illegal or out of circulation. Take it out of circulation. You have to use your phone, your Alipay to pay for everything. And then every transaction, no matter what you buy, how much you buy, where you buy, when you buy, and everything is under the auspices of Chinese Communist regime. They can see everything. They can control everything. So in that sense, of course, the regime, is a control maniac, right? I think they're going to push forward with this blockchain and digital Chinese currency, RMB. Obviously, the Chinese Communist regime, they don't support Bitcoin or Ripple. That's another digital currency, or Ethereum, okay, or Tether. They're actually altogether about 1,600 encrypted currencies in the world today. And many more are coming every day. The Chinese government will not support those because they can control those, right? And what they can control, of course, is the Chinese currency, renminbi or RMB. So I think the China will probably, first have a digital RMB, or they may have a new currency like their the government communist leaders are proposing they call the Commonwealth of Humanity, something like that. right? So Commonwealth in Chinese could be like GT coin, for example, right? And they may try to make that available, circulate inside of China, and then they can use their One Belt, One Road, or the Belt and Road initiative to push the system to the world. They can first start out first in African countries and South American countries, and then maybe some of the European countries that's the weakest or closest to Chinese. Okay? And some may say that China has the ambition of using blockchain as digital currency to challenge the U.S. dollars, the supremacy of U.S. dollars. It could be in their motive. It was possible. It was thought to be possible before, but nowadays I think that ambition has to be gone. It's impossible now, right? Why? It has something to do with the 5G network and Huawei. Huawei. Okay. If Huawei's 5G network, you know, was indeed capable of spreading, to the whole world as the Chinese communists planned or would like to see, and then this whole 5G network controlled, built, and run, operated by Huawei is going to be a huge intranet of the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communists could use this globalized network to realize its ambition, trying to use digital RMB to replace dollars, at least in starting in some African and Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries. Of course, nowadays we all know that hey, the CCP could not do it. President Trump, you know, got it first, right? And the Trump administration is cutting off this black hand of CCP, Huawei, and Huawei is really under scrutiny right now. And also another thing that China, is falling behind is that Google, an American company, realized this quantum, supremacy first. Under the quantum supremacy, the Chinese digital currency, China's encryption, and all those mining computers, the mining capability of those computers on digital coins, you know, in the eyes of quantum computer, it's nothing. It's no big deal. It can easily be penetrated. Okay? So in a nutshell, China could very well, realize its digital currency inside of China. Right? If there is conflict, you know, if the conflict or confrontation between U.S. China intensifies, and there is a war, financial war, or internet war, or over internet, and Chinese communists is really vulnerable. They have no way of a chance of winning. American, quantum supremacy can easily penetrate the Chinese intranet and break the internet block, the Great Firewall of China, and also destroy Chinese digital currency if American wants to do that. Okay. So basically, the way I see that, the Chinese financial system is really on the brink, of collapse. And end of last year, we have seen that there's a agricultural and commerce bank in Henan province. There was a bank run on that. A week later, there's another bank in China's Liaoning province, Yingkou, city of Yingkou, has another bank run, and also the Chinese central bank has been planning, to doing that, controlling cash flows, really cash flows on public money or government spending of over 500,000 or private money of over 100,000. The use of currency cash is strictly under control. Now, I think the Chinese government is really working to try to fight, the bank run and bankruptcy of those banks. So the Chinese financial system could collapse anytime, and erase all the wealth of the Chinese people. So basically, China may wants to use digital currency to survive this financial crisis, but will they have money? I doubt it. Okay, this is end of this episode of Opinion New by Dr. Frank Tianshi. I'll see you next time.